This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
21st century influences? Yeah, probably. This is Wretched Radio, a review of The Chosen. It's a 8-part first season mini-series. It is about the life of Jesus Christ, of course, the Chosen One. Many reviews, not a lot of them being very critical, frankly. There are some observations that would say, yeah, but I have not read one that was like, thumbs down on it. There are some things that may disqualify it for you. If it's an issue of conscience, don't watch it. If some of these issues, which Michelle Leslie and others are pointing out, if they're a problem for you in that it detracts from your understanding about Jesus, I would say then don't watch it. There is another issue that I don't think anybody brought up that I think is worthy of all of our consideration for ourselves and especially for our kids. Now, whether it was delivered well or not, nevertheless, I think even Phil Vischer, he even pointed out that portraying Bible characters as vegetables, it can do something. Now, with the Veggie Tales, it might be teaching the kids it's just kind of a play, and they changed the details enough where the story of Jonah wasn't an actual historical event. There's dangers in doing these types of things. I'm not saying disqualifiers, but there are considerations in when we present something in the Bible in a way that isn't entirely biblical. Not sinful per se, but can have some consequences. If your kids watch something like The Chosen, and that's totally up to you whether you do or don't, is it possible that they will think the embellishments are biblical? That they'll be learning, oh, that's what happened. Why don't I have that in my Bible? Or they might bring that into their understanding of a theological position, or it might forever be there as something that they think Jesus really did, or something that he said when he didn't. That's going to be a decision that you have to make, Mom and Dad, which is why I would encourage you when you watch a show like this, bring your Bible to the party. And if something is said or done, hit pause. And then it's your responsibility to point out, hey, well, wait a second. When Jesus was talking to Nicodemus and he asked Nicodemus, what does your heart say? No, let's just talk about this. First of all, that's not in the Bible. Remember, this speech that we see from Jesus and the disciples and all the characters, most of it, not all of it, most of it is not in the Bible. Furthermore, the Bible does talk about the heart. And the last thing that we want to follow is our emotions. We don't follow our heart. That is Disney language. That is not biblical language. So it is very difficult to imagine that Jesus would ask Nicodemus to follow his heart when his heart is deceitful and wicked above all things. Who can know it? Jesus wouldn't contradict himself in his word. And so you want to be pointing these things out so that your kids don't just accept it. Medium of the visual arts, very, very powerful. You need to make that decision, Mom and Dad. There are some other things that you should be aware of, and then you make a decision. I think I counted 5 or 6 things that, I wish they hadn't done that. I just read the reviews. I haven't seen the show. That you need to weigh. Put it on a scale and weigh whether you want to watch this or whether you want to watch it with your kids or not. One of the big concerns that Michelle Leslie in her review had was the role of Mary Magdalene, who in that Mark and Roma Downey Jr. Barnett.
Mark Burnett and Roma
too.
Downey.
Did he play that role in the 60s? Is he the father of Timothy Hutton? Whatever. The role of Mary Magdalene was clearly elevated to an unbiblical level. Very problematic in that series. Michelle's saying they're kind of apparently making every effort to demonstrate Jesus had a high view of women. And Mary Magdalene is being used as that character in particular to demonstrate Jesus isn't this sexist, misogynist, horrible, just men and the patriarchy. And could it be that in the future they might elevate Mary Magdalene to an inappropriate level? There are hints of that, but as of the first season, the answer is no. Could be in the future. As mentioned a few moments ago, there was a scene at the Shabbat meal where Jesus asked Mary Magdalene to lead the Shabbat prayers reading. That just wouldn't happen. Now, without getting hypercritical and picking every single nit, even though that is my spiritual gift, maybe yours too. Is it a foretaste of what is to come? An elevating of women to a more societally sympathetic place? We'll see. Nevertheless, toward the end of the episode, this is episode 5, Simon and Jesus kid around about Andrew's lack of grace when it comes to dancing. Okay, can be nothing wrong with that. That can be good humor if it's not hurtful. Simon then asked Jesus if he would change Andrew into a better dancer. And the words the writers put into the mouth of Jesus were, "Some things even I can't do." Humor? Absolutely, Jesus was humorous. Would it be a joke that even I think took a shot at his deity and his omnipotence? I don't think so. This was probably the one thing that I read that was the strongest. Ooh, didn't like that. Is that a disqualifier for you? You be the judge. Episode 6. In the portrayal of the men who bring the paralytic to Jesus, while men are the ones actually carrying the paralytic on a litter, Tamar, a woman, a friend of the paralytic, leads the way, and it's made clear this is all her idea. When Simon attempts to stop the entourage from pushing their way through the crowd to Jesus, Tamar is the one who pleads with him, and Mary Magdalene reproves him. Moments later, Tamar is the one who comes up with the idea of going through the roof, and Mary Magdalene assists her. Once the hole is made in the roof, Tamar calls down to Jesus and asks him to heal her friend, and Jesus says to her, "Your faith is beautiful." Any problems with that repainted scene? And the answer is, yeah, that seems to be one of the ones that actually does contradict the Bible. There's 2 issues. First of all, very, very clear that the Bible teaches it was men that were doing that. Luke describes the scene and refers to the men a lot. It is not necessary to change what was really clear in the Bible. So that's a problematic scene. That's one that could get into your kid's brain. Hey, weren't there women who were kind of leading that deal with the house and the roof and the dropping them through? And the answer is no, it was men, because Luke makes it really, really clear in Luke 5, verse 18 and following. Furthermore, and now this is not to pick a nit, but could it be this is again a contemporary portrayal of Jesus trying to make sure that the world that might be eavesdropping, that might be watching this, okay, all right, so women, they play a role in this. Jesus is cool with women. Okay, the Bible isn't as harsh as everybody has been trying to tell me it is. Maybe. I don't know them. I don't know. It's something to be aware of. Would it disqualify it for me? Now, this scene for me, it wouldn't be a disqualifier for me. You have to make that decision for you. Add all of this up. Put it into a basket, shake it around, and see what you come up with. Other than the joke about Jesus, about his deity. What does your heart say? Not great. But overall, the reviews for The Chosen, most people are saying it's edifying, and actually a few of the scenes were really, really emotional. I can't remember. It was one of the disciples who said something like to Jesus, "We've been waiting for you for so long." She said it moved her to tears because you got a sense of the heart of somebody who is this long-expected prophet that they've been talking about, that the Bible has been screaming about, that was promised to come and deliver us, whatever their understanding of deliverance was. They were waiting and waiting and waiting. And so when Andrew, I believe, expresses, at least in The Chosen, "We've been waiting for you for so long," for her, that echoed the cry of her heart. And it brought it to life, and it was really edifying for her. You need to make that decision for yourself. I remember when I first listened to Chuck Swindoll's Suddenly One Morning. I wish we could play it, but you can't find it out there. It's under lock and key, those rascals at Insight for Living. Open it up, Chuck. Open it up. It's magnificent, and his reading, I'll never forget. It's a shopkeeper. Jesus is coming into town, and he sees him, and he locks eyes with Jesus Christ. And he just comments on just how Jesus seemed to just pierce into us by looking at him with such a look of tender compassion. And I can't remember if I've got this right, but later, this same shopkeeper runs out with the crowds to see the crucifixion, and he hears the hammer hitting the nails going through his wrists and through his ankles. And he hears the cracking of the hammer with the nail splitting flesh and wood. And Chuck Swindoll, like only he can with his magnificent voice, said, "It was awful." Ugh. Some of those portrayals that are some embellishments or physical recreations of the Bible can be very, very powerful. Some can be very, very dangerous. Regarding The Chosen, you've now heard the review. The choice is up to you. This is Wretched Radio.
Hey,
Todd.
sweetie.
Take her around the block a few times?
Who's a good girl? You're not, because nobody does good. No, not one. Romans 5 says we're born in sin and iniquity, and our hearts are deceitful and wicked. You know that if you'd use the law, which brings about the knowledge of sin.